Hey there, my name is Steve, and if we haven't met yet, I run a personal finance channel on here called Cash College, where I teach Canadians like yourself everything that you need to know about money. So yesterday, Justin Trudeau actually announced a completely new benefit, the Canada Emergency Student Benefit, or CESB for short. So in this video today, I'm going to be breaking down what the CESB is, how much money we're talking exactly, who's eligible, how you can apply, and I'll also be talking about some really cool other announcements that they made that might apply to you and might also help you maximize the amount of money that you're going to be able to get over the summer. I know that eligibility criteria for both of these benefits has been really confusing, and it's hard to know if they apply to your very specific situation because sometimes the guidelines have been a little bit vague or unclear. So in this video, I'm going to be doing my best to make it very clear if you're eligible or not. And I'll also be talking about if you can get the CERB, which is the Canada Emergency Response Benefit that was already released, and the CESB, or the Canada Emergency Student Benefit, at the same time. And I actually did already do a video on the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, or CERB, so if you want to check that one out too as well, I'll put a link down in the description below. I broke it down completely, talked about what it is, who's eligible, and how you can apply for that too. And if that wasn't enough, I also actually did a little video on how you can budget your CERB payments and make them go as far as possible. So that video might also apply to you if you are going to be receiving this benefit as well, so the link is down in the description for that one too. Alright, so let's actually talk about what this benefit is. So the Canada Emergency Student Benefit is actually a $9 billion aid package which is designed to provide economic relief to students who are affected by this virus, and students who have kind of fallen through the cracks of what's already been covered by things like the CERB. So currently, as it stands, or as it's proposed, the plan is to give eligible students $1,250 per month, or $1,750 per month if you're caring for a dependent or if you have a disability. These payments are going to run from May to August. So basically they're going to be providing the payment for 4 months, which would essentially cover the summer duration that you would have been looking for a summer job in between your semesters or before starting school, or even if you're a graduating student who is looking on entering into the workforce. And I'll be talking about that a little bit more later. Many students rely on their summer jobs in order to sustain them when they're heading back into school to pay for tuition, housing, food, textbooks, all of these costs. So it's clear that this benefit is aimed directly at students in order to help them cope with what's going on right now. So in total, with this benefit, you'd be receiving $5,000 over the course of the summer, or $7,000 if you're caring for a dependent or if you have a disability. And so who can actually access this money then? Well, as it currently stands, according to Justin Trudeau's announcements and a following Toronto Star article, in order to be able to receive the CESB, you either have to be currently enrolled in post-secondary education and you're planning on returning in September, or you have graduated on or after December 2019, or you're planning on starting school in September. Now, I want to point out that in the Prime Minister's actual speech yesterday, he did say that the benefit in terms of applying to graduating students, that it would only apply to students who graduated on December 2019. Now, he might have kind of misspoke there because the Toronto Star afterwards reported it as on or after December 2019, and I've even seen some other sources report it as any date after December 2019. And to me, that makes more sense because the students who are graduating in December are going to be in the exact same position as the students who are graduating right now. They're going to be facing difficulties finding work. And that's the whole purpose of this benefit, is to help those students who are having difficulties finding work. So I think that it's probably going to be applying for anybody who's graduated after December. So really recent grads are going to be eligible for this, in my opinion, at this point, but we'll have to wait for more information to come out and some really concrete details on this to know for sure. In addition to that, even if you're a student right now who has a job, you still might be eligible to receive the CESB. You just need to have an income that's below $1,000 per month. So if you're under that income threshold and you're still working, that's okay. You're going to be eligible for the CESB. CESB. And that's very much similar to the CERB. They added in that little eligibility criteria afterwards once they realized that there's a lot of people who've had their hours cut or their pay reduced and they're making less than $1,000 per month. So it still made them eligible to receive the CERB, and it looks like they're doing the same thing with the CESB. But at this point, I want to make it very clear that this proposed benefit is not actually passed into legislation yet. It's a proposal that the Liberal government is going to put forward, and then it's going to have to be approved by opposition parties as well, and then it'll be made into an actual thing. So at this point, those are the proposed criteria for it. So it may change a little bit as it moves forwards into becoming an actual solidified thing. So just make sure to follow the news for updates to see if anything changes going forwards. But in a nutshell, this sounds to me like if you're somebody who's currently a student or somebody who's about to become a student or a recent grad, you're going to be eligible to receive this benefit. But what about the CERB? Are you eligible to receive that at the same time as receiving the CESB? In my opinion, I would say no, and that's because the CERB is going to count as income for taxation purposes. It's going to count as you receiving income. And since that income is $2,000 per month, that is over that $1,000 threshold. So that right there is already going to disqualify you from being able to receive the CERB and the CESB at the same time. And on top of that, I really don't think the government is going to want people double dipping on programs like these, because the CERB was designed to help out a large group of people, and the CESB is specifically targeting those students who fell through the cracks of receiving the CERB in the first place. But with that being said, if you're a student and you are actually eligible for the CERB, then you should probably take the CERB over the CESB because you're going to be receiving more money. With the CERB, you'd be getting $2,000 per month instead of the $1,250 per month. So that would net you an extra $3,000 over the course of the next 4 months. And if you're not sure whether you're eligible or not for the CERB, again, I have my video on it linked down below where you can check it out, you can understand it better and see if you're eligible for it. Now, in terms of actually applying for the CESB, the government has stated that the benefit is going to be delivered through the CRA. So I would assume that it's going to be set up very much the same way as the CERB. And the way the CERB was set up is that the government created an online portal, basically a web page that you would go to, and then you could apply for the CERB on there. I think the CESB will probably be pretty much the exact same process. And this is actually a really good thing because applying for the CERB was super easy. The people who applied for it said they couldn't believe how quick and painless it was to do. All you needed to do is provide some simple personal details and then answer a few questions in a test that you are eligible to receive the benefit. So I think applying for the CESB will be relatively painless as well. The only thing that I'm wondering about, and we'll have to wait for more information on, is if you'll have to provide proof that you are a post-secondary student in the form of, I'm not sure, an acceptance letter or a transcript or something like that. But the only thing about providing proof like this would mean that somebody would have to review it, which would greatly slow down the entire process. And I really don't think that they're wanting to do that. I think that they want to get these benefits out to as many people as fast as possible. So I personally doubt that they're going to ask for proof. But with that being said, don't abuse the system. I mean, don't take money away from people who need it. If you do that, I mean, you suck. And the CRA is going to likely find out anyway at a later date. So this benefit is actually not the only thing that the government is doing to help students right now. As I said earlier, they've actually made some other announcements that are really interesting, and you'll probably want to listen to the details of these. So let's go over them. The first interesting one is the Canada Student Services Grant. So this grant is basically designed to provide students with relevant work experience, or at least some kind of skill building experience, while they're able to help contribute to their community in ways that it might have been affected by the virus. And so depending on the hours put in, students can actually receive up to $5,000 for volunteering their time in this way. Now, we don't have any details right now about what valid volunteering would actually look like, but I would assume that if you're helping out your community in some way that benefits things that have been impacted by the virus, then it's probably going to be considered eligible for this grant. And it sounds like the more hours you volunteer your time, the more of this grant that you're going to be eligible to receive, with $5,000 being the maximum. So there'll likely be some kind of target hours that you have to hit in order to receive that full grant. And something I wonder, but I don't have the answer to right now, is that I wonder if you could receive this grant in addition to the CESB, because that would be awesome. If you could receive the CESB over the summer and then also get access to this grant, then that would provide you with essentially $10,000 to put towards your schooling. And I think it would make sense to allow you to have access to both of these. And that's because if you're accessing the CESB, it means that you're not going to be working this summer, so you're going to have some time on your hands. And if you use that time in a productive way to volunteer in your community to help the fight against the virus, then I think you should be rewarded for that. And the reward itself for this grant actually makes a lot of sense because it's a grant towards your education. So the money's not going to go directly into your pocket with the grant, it's going to go to likely your tuition. So by getting both the CESB and this grant, you'd get $5,000 into your pocket and then $5,000 towards tuition. And personally, it really warms my heart to see the level of community involvement going on right now. In the city I live in, Toronto, there's one thing in particular happening right now that I really like to see every day, and there's these guys called the Marinara Boys, who are some of the owners of some really good Italian restaurants in the city, like Sugo or Famiglia Baldassare, and more. If you live in the city, I'm sure you know and love them, but these guys have been volunteering their time every day to cook a whole bunch of food for frontline health workers and delivering it to hospitals to give them some great food while they're fighting against this virus. And I've seen a lot of other really cool initiatives going around, so I'm sure there's ways that you can volunteer your time to make a really great impact. The second announcement that might interest you is changes made to the Canada Summer Jobs Program. So the government has enacted measures that's supposed to help create 70,000 jobs for students this summer. And if you're curious about finding these jobs, you can go to jobbank.gc.ca. I'll put a link for this down below. And basically what this is it's like a job database that the government has created that you can go on and search for specific jobs you want to find. You can use filters. It's actually a pretty good database. I remember when I was in university finishing up my degree, I used it to find work in between semesters of my university time. And another thing I wanted to say, if you're really concerned about how you're going to manage financially heading into your next semester at school, or maybe you just graduated and you're trying to head into the workforce, I think there's a lot of videos that I've made on my channel that can probably help you. In particular, I'd recommend starting with the 5-step financial plan, because this really allows you to assess where you're at right now financially and what goals you should have. And then from there, you might want to check out some of the videos I did on saving money strategies and practical tips for saving money. And something like the CERB budgeting guide might actually be relevant for that too right now. And if you're somebody who has absolutely no understanding of money at all, then maybe you should start with something like the history of money, or a video I did called What is Money? Because those are more conceptual and allows you to actually understand what money is, how it functions in our society, and why we actually have it. And I think that understanding those conceptual things first can do a really good job of informing all the next steps that you need to take to really have a great financial journey. But also just remember, at this stage in your life, if you're a student right now, you don't need to put a whole bunch of pressure on yourself to save thousands of dollars or have a robust stock portfolio. Most people aren't going to be able to. And honestly, as cheesy as it sounds, right now, the best thing you can invest in is yourself. You'll get a far better return on your money by putting the time and energy into yourself right now than you would saving a couple hundred or thousands of dollars. But with that being said, it doesn't hurt to start educating yourself about personal finance right now. And I know that it's really confusing. I know that there's tons of conflicting and clickbaity information out there about personal finance, but it's my mission on this channel to make it very clear and digestible for everyone. And honest. I'm not here to tell you how to get rich quick or give you clickbaity stock tips. I'm here to tell you how to responsibly manage your money, get rich slowly, and achieve financial independence. So if that sounds good to you, I'm your guy. And so with that all being said, I'm Steve Antonioni, and this has been Cash College on the CESB. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, and leave me a comment if you have any questions. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you again soon.